How many of you just lied? I'm sorry about the camera, brother. If my lips are moving, so are my feet. How many, Brother Homer, have you ever had to minister when you don't feel like it?
Yeah. Yeah. Many times.
Many times? Did you go anyway?
I would go anyway.
Because you know God's going to show up, right?
That's it.
How many of y'all have ever had to minister when you don't feel like it?
Yeah.
Or had to be the Christian at work when you don't feel like it?
Yeah.
Or God sends somebody to you on your worst day
Come on.
and they need a word and you don't feel like it.
Right.
But you do it anyway.
Amen.
Because it's never been about us. It's always been about the God inside of us.
That's it.
Today, man, Satan took me through it. Tried to break me today. We called him out last night.
Yeah.
We've been calling him out all week, so we should expect him, because the word says that these are those seeds that are thrown by the wayside.
Right.
And Satan comes how fast?
Immediately.
Mark chapter 4, verse 15 and 16. The word says Satan comes immediately to steal that word before it's able to take root and grow in their heart.
Yeah.
It's a spiritual law. If you're praising God, if you're serving God, if you're chasing after him, it's Satan's job every time. It doesn't matter if you know the word. He's not going to stop just because you know the word.
That's right.
Oh, he knows that scripture, so I'm not going to attack him.
Yeah. Come on.
No. You may know the word,
Yeah.
but do you know the word in expectation?
Yeah.
Because he's still coming. And I knew it was him, and I still entertained it for just a little bit. And I should have saw it for what it was, because I knew all day I was going to give my testimony tonight.
Yeah.
And he starts beating me up anyway. God reminds me of this verse. Yea, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I will fear no evil.
That's right.
You said, I've heard that scripture before.
Yeah.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Are you walking through death? Are you walking through the shadow of death?
Right.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Yeah.
It may feel like death, but is it death if you're in Christ? Because my Bible tells me that he took the keys
That's right.
to the gates of hell.
Yeah.
So are you walking through hell if you're walking with Jesus? No, but you may walk through the shadow of death. But what God showed me today is, if there's a shadow, you can only have a shadow if there's some sun.
Come on. Oh, that's good.
You may walk through the shadow of death, the valley of the shadow of death, but you're not walking through death. It just feels like death.
Right.
So if you're in a shadow, there's some sunshine somewhere.
Amen.
So if there's some sun in the picture and it's casting a shadow, don't you get caught up in the shadow. Don't get caught up in the shadow of death. Look up, because there's some sun that's casting that shadow.
Come on.
See, Satan, he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. The thief does, but we know that's Satan's job.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be testimony time, but you can't ask a preacher to share a testimony and not preach a little bit.
Come on, brother.
That's y'all's fault for asking. If you're dumb enough to invite me, I'm going to show up. The shadow of death. Because there's some sun shining, and you're just in the shadow, but don't get caught up in the shadow.
Amen. Right.
Because the shadow is not the light, it's not the truth. You should be looking to the sun.
Yeah.
Satan does come to steal, kill, and destroy. But let me tell you something, and I'm going to say this out loud, and Satan's going to hear me, and he's not going to change his game plan because it's been working for a long time. But if you're walking with Christ, at the end of the day, Satan is just a puppet.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the story of Job, Satan went after him, right? But before he was allowed to go after him, God set the boundaries. You can go this far.
Yeah. Right.
The Bible says in James chapter 1 and 2, count it all joy when you enter diverse trials, tribulations. Why? Because it's going to produce patience and character. And
Right.
1 Peter chapter 5, we know, I think it's around verse 8 or so, where it says, your adversary, the lion, he's roaming around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Can he just go devour who he wants to?
No.
Who he may devour.
Yeah.
But it says, resist him steadfast. Why?
Yeah. Come on.
Actually, if you look up these 3 verses, there's a really cool 4-letter word. Know. K-N-O-W. Means experience. Count it all joy when you enter diverse trials and tribulations. Knowing. 1 Peter chapter 5. Resist him steadfast. Knowing
Thank God.
that he's going to perfect you.
Yeah.
Sustain you.
Come on. Pray to God.
Romans chapter 5, it's either 5:3 or 3:5. It says, we glory in our tribulation.
That's right.
Knowing that it's going to produce patience and perseverance and character and
Praise God.
when it has its way. So those disciples were either the dumbest people on the planet, or they knew something that we don't know and we don't walk in.
Yeah.
If you're going through it, instead of focusing on what you're going through and focusing on the shadow, you got to stop and say, God, what do you want me to be?
That's it.
Knowing. If you're taking me through something, you're allowing it. You gave Satan permission to go this far.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're trying to produce something in me.
Yeah.
Character and patience and perseverance and steadfasting, lacking nothing.
Amen.
Praise God.
That's God's goal. Will he let you go through it? Yes. Has he taken his hand off of you? No, it's part of the game plan.
That's right.
Satan's a puppet. He's going to let him go this far so that you can know and be steadfast in your patience and perseverance. And how many do you want? You know what the world's lacking today? Character.
Yeah.
You know why Christianity's not as powerful as Islam? Islam's willing to die for their faith.
Yeah.
We're not willing to bless our food in public.
Come on.
Come on. Come on.
Help us tonight.
They'll die for their faith. We won't bless our food in public.
Right?
If somebody really believes something, it kind of proves it to me when they're willing to die for it.
Yeah.
I don't see Jesus in you when you're not even don't have the stamina, don't have the power, don't have the authority to stop and bless your food.
Right?
Because you're afraid somebody's going to laugh because you're in public. You know what we lack as Christians? We lack character.
Yeah.
We don't stand out. I used to think for a long time, Romans 1 and 2, I beseech you therefore, brothers. And it goes on to say, don't be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
And I thought for a long time he was talking to two different people. The lost, don't be conformed to the world like them. Be transformed like Christians.
Right.
Then I have the knowledge one day that the Bible wasn't written for lost people. It was a roadmap for Christians.
Yeah.
Come on.
So then I go back and I revisit that verse and I find out that we're talking about two different types of Christians. Hey, you Christians, don't be conformed to the world. Look that up.
Yeah.
It means you're saved on the inside. The problem is nobody can tell because of the way you're living on the outside.
That's it.
Come on, buddy.
But be transformed. Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
From the cocoon to the butterfly, the caterpillar to the butterfly. I know you're saved. You're saved on the inside. You know how I know it? Because the way you're showing it on the outside.
Come on.
Praise God.
He was talking to Christians in both verses. Don't be conformed to the world. Yeah, you're saved on the inside. Nobody knows it, though, because you live just like the world. Be transformed. Let it show on the outside. Have some character. Stand up for what you believe in. Are you willing to die for it?
That's it.
Don't walk in the shadow of the valley of death.
Amen.
Look to the sun.
Amen.
There is no death in Christ. Y'all stand up with me. Hey, can I borrow that praise team? Can I borrow you too, sister? We'll see how good y'all really are. How's this guy over here on the drums? Does he really know what he's doing? You know what you're doing, brother? Not really? Can you fake it with me one time? We're finna do a song you never heard before. You ready? Hit it. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. I'm messing with you, bro. I'm just messing with you. But you are going to play. You cool with that? Good, because I just wanted you to feel like you had a choice. I'm messing with you, brother. I love you, man. I love y'all. Y'all are awesome. Y'all got me. Got me. I love it.
Hallelujah.
I told the sister right here, like, I love the way y'all praise. It's awesome. But the sister right here really stood out to me yesterday. You know why? And I'm not saying anything bad about anybody else, because you know how God just speaks to you sometimes about certain people.
We don't go into the next place.
I'm going to be up here a while, brother. You might want to wait before you say that. No, I'm just kidding. You can tell by her face when she sings that she believes what she's singing.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Yeah, I heard that song before. I heard that song before. That's all great. But if you haven't ever experienced something that's in that song, the lines of that song, she sang just a little talk because it was all over her today. She don't even know that's my favorite old song.
Hallelujah.
Nobody sings that anymore.
Come on.
I take that as a personal gift from God. I know it was for her and I know it was for everybody else, but I take my relationship with God personally. When he spoke to her about that song, I don't care what she says about it. To me, that was a personal gift from God to me because it's my favorite song.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Glory.
That's not offensive, right? God gave that to her, but to me, in my relationship with God, I take that personal. That was for me.
Yeah.
My favorite song. Y'all are going to hear a little bit about testimony here in a minute, and it ends up in prison. This song we're fixing to sing means something to me because it was written by a man who had 37 years for murder. A man that has 37 years for murder, and he's in prison. You know what the name of this song is? That a guy that's in prison for 37 years for murder, you know what the name of the song is? God is a good God.
Yeah. Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Praise the
A
Lord.
man in prison.
Yeah.
for murder. For 37 years, writes a song called God is a Good God.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesus.
I'm going to teach you the chorus. I'll do the verses. I'm going to teach everybody the chorus. You'll hear a little bit, and then just jump in when you do. But man, this is a drum song, man. Beat those things till you break one, brother. If you don't, we'll do it again. You got to beat them things on this song. Y'all say this after me. God is a good God.
God is a good God.
Now look, the English is not perfect. He was in prison, okay? God is a good God.
God is a good God.
He's the same. He don't ever change.
He's the same. He don't ever change.
God is a good God.
God is a good God.
And I'll forever praise His name.
I'll forever praise His name.
Do it one more time, because we do the chorus twice. God is a good God.
God is a good God.
He's the same. He don't ever change.
He's the same. He don't ever change.
God is a good God.
God is a good God.
And I'll forever praise His name.
I'll forever praise His name.
I'm going to do just a little bit of it so you can try to find a beat in your head. You ready? Not ready? Okay, good. God is a good God. He's the same. He don't ever change. God is a good God. And I'll forever praise His name. I keep on telling you that God is a good God. He's the same. He don't ever change. God is a good God. And I'll forever praise His name. I keep on telling you that God, He's a good God. He's the same. He don't ever change. God is a good God. And I'll forever praise His name. I keep on telling you that God is a good God. He's the same. He don't ever change. He's the Alpha, woo, and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And He saved my soul from a burning hell, and I'll forever praise His name. I keep on telling you that God, He's a good God. He's the same, He won't ever change. God is a good God, and I'll forever praise His name. I keep on telling you that God, He's a good God. He's the same, He don't never change. God is a good God, and I'll forever praise His name. You can call Him in the morning, and you can call Him late at night. Oh, my God's the same. He don't ever change, and I'll forever praise His name. I keep on telling you that God is a good God. He's the same. He don't ever change. God is a good God, and I'll forever praise His name. I keep on telling you that God is a good God. He's the same. He don't ever change. God is a good God, and I'll forever praise His name.
Yes, He is.
Brother Homer knew I was going to do that too.
Yeah.
I can't go nowhere without that song. That's my theme song. God is good.
Glory to
God is
God.
good.
Amen.
Y'all learned the prison song. How about that? How about that? Came to youth revival and learned the prison song. Go tell somebody.
Amen.
Y'all ready?
Amen.
Let's pray. Because this is about God or it's about nothing.
Amen.
You don't have anything to offer outside of Jesus Christ. I don't care who you are, what your ministry is, what your message is. If you have anything to offer besides Jesus, you really ain't offered nothing. Nothing. Lord God, we just thank you for this day that you've given us and blessed us with. I thank you for this youth rally. I thank you for the youth that have been here, for the adults that have been here. I thank you for the praise teams. I thank you for the messages, the words, Father God. You've just been awesome because you are a good God, Father God. I thank you that we come to this place and have fun. I think we come to this place and we cry. I thank you we come to this place and we can lay all of our burdens down. It doesn't matter how much life tries to beat us up. It doesn't matter how much Satan tries to come after us, Father God. There's only a shadow because there's some sun. And I thank you that you bring us to a place like this where we can remember to focus on the sun and not the shadow, Lord God. Be with me. Bring things to remembrance, Father God, that you want me to share my testimony. And I just pray that Satan will be bound in this place and not be allowed to steal anything from anyone from receiving a word from you tonight, Lord God. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
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 We'll just jump right on in. When I was a kid, my grandparents weren't saved. My parents weren't saved. But great-grandma was super saved. Super saved. You're going to church.
Yeah.
Your son says about being drugged to church. When Big Nanny showed up, you're getting in the car. And she showed up and she took me and my brother. My story was a lot like his. They took us to church, and she was Methodist, so she took us to a Methodist church. She preached Sunday school, and she came to the main service and she played the organ, and someone else preached, and she took us out to eat. And then we left from that place and we went to a nursing home, and she played the organ for about an hour, and then she preached for about an hour, and then we left there and we went to another nursing home, and she played the organ for an hour, and she preached for an hour, and then we went home. Every Sunday. Nobody can ever tell me God's not real by that one example that I've seen in my whole life. This woman's in her 80s. She falls in the middle of a sermon and breaks her leg in the nursing home. And they try to get her up and take her to the hospital. And she said, "Not yet. I'm not done preaching. Just stand me up." So they stand her back up, 80 years old with a broken leg, standing on one leg preaching. You can't tell me she didn't believe in the message that God gave her.
Amen.
She preached her guts out at the nursing homes. Then she let them take her. She was healed of cancer. They told her 4 different times that she was going to die. She had 6 months to live. She lived like another 20 years after the last time that they told her she was going to die.
Thank you, Jesus.
She knew the God that she served. Finally, my grandparents get saved, and we started going to other churches. Parents, they fought a lot. Broken dishes, things flying, remotes bouncing off the back of each other's heads. Don't act like you don't know me back there, brother. What's that? Good to see y'all, man. Family right there. They fought a lot because they didn't know Jesus. Whenever things didn't work out, they split up. They went their separate ways for a while, whatever. They fought. They tried to hurt each other, tried to kill each other, tried to run each other over. Mom had a 77 Camaro. She chased Dad down in the yard one day. She missed him, so she turned around and came again. She almost missed him the second time. But when he jumped out of the way, she opened up that driver's door. Boom! Clipped him. Got him. She was serious. She was square business, is what they'd say in prison. She was about her business. We grew up watching that. And then one night while we're in our room, they've been fighting all day long. So we're in the back bedroom, we're hearing them fighting and screaming. We're crying, we don't know what's going to go on. We finally go to sleep. Then we finally wake up to my dad screaming for my mom to answer the door. She locked herself up in the bedroom. She won't answer. So he tells her I'm going to count to whatever, and then I'm fixing to bust this door down. You better not be behind that door. And then we hear a loud thud in the floor. My dad said, "Jenny, if you're back there, get out of the way." And he hits that door and he knocks it all the way off the hinges. And when he rounds that corner, he screams my brother's name. "David, come here." So we both jump up, we run to the end of the hallway, we run to a room, and he tells my brother to get out there by the road, and you wave down the ambulance, and he tells me to get on the phone and call 911. I'm in 5th grade. Don't know what's going on. And the next thing, I'm on 911 trying to give them directions to our house, and I see my mom come out of the door, but she can't even hardly walk. She's like this. My dad's behind her, and he's got her held up, and he's walking her. And she's barely out of there. She had taken like 98 Valium.
Wow.
So she's barely awake, barely conscious. And she's saying, "Put me down, let me die. Y'all don't love me, put me down, let me die." She's like, going crazy. "Put me down, let me die." And I'm watching this as I'm in 5th grade. I don't understand what's going on. My mom's barely there, but saying, "Just put me down, let me die." I have no idea how I got that bad. I'm in 5th grade, I don't understand. They take her to the hospital. She's there for 3 days. She comes back home. We never have a conversation about that. Never. They set us down about a week later and they said, "Your father and I were splitting up, and it was just me and my brother, and they told us one of you's going to go with your dad, one of you's going to go with your mom." And I'm too little to understand what's going on. So I go to my bedroom and I'm crying. I don't want my parents to split up. I don't understand what's going on. And I didn't know it then because I'm too little. But now that I'm older, I know it was God, because I wasn't close enough to God back then to know. Wasn't smart enough back then to know. But he gives me this thought. He said, "You know what? Y'all have always promised us that y'all would go to church with us one Sunday, and y'all never went." So I went back in the living room and I said, "Tomorrow was Sunday. We'll pick who we're going to live with, but y'all are going to make good on your promise one time. You're going to come to church with us one time. So they told us they'd go to church with us, and after church, we'd have to decide who we were going to live with. I don't know. I don't know how we're going to face that. I just know that something is compelling me to tell them, you got to come to church one time.
Praise God.
So I went to church, and I was faithful. I was faithful in church when I was a kid. I was faithful to lay my head down in this old lady's lap because she gave me candy. And I was faithful to go to sleep like I always did because she'd rub my hair. That's what happened. So I lay down in her lap. She'd give me candy. I'd go to sleep. This time was no different except for when she woke me up. Normally we get up and church is over. So she wakes me up. I wake up, and she says, well, look. And I looked, and my mom and dad were holding hands.
Thank you, Jesus.
Praise God.
Thank you, Jesus.
Walking down the aisle.
Thank you, Jesus.
No conversation when we got back home about what happened. What's crazy is that my dad's snuff left the house, the beer left the house, the cussing left the house, and I never saw him fight again.
Hallelujah.
Some of us, when we get saved, it's a long road.
Uh-huh.
Long road. Some people get saved, it's different the next day. My parents were that way. It was just different the next day. We never had to talk about the pills. We never had to talk about their salvation. All I know is that life was different. I didn't know my parents anymore. So I've had these experiences about God and Him being real. I've known God most of my life. I knew Him. I knew of Him. I knew what He could do. Just didn't know that He cared anything about me yet.
Yeah.
So it's just me and my brother. He's 3 years older. He was always about a foot taller and always about 100 pounds heavier. His name is David. We called him Satan. I called him Satan. I was his punching bag growing up. I tried one time to tell on him. It was really worse the next time, so that wasn't going to be the answer. We had 80 acres to play on, and he would play tricks on me every time. He knew I liked to hunt, I liked to fish. And I so much wanted the attention of my brother, it made me stupid. My brother didn't like to hunt or fish. And he'd come to me and say, hey, let's go hunting. Let's go shoot some birds. Let's go shoot some squirrels. Okay. And when you're about 60 acres away from the house, then you have the thought, my brother don't even like to hunt. And you turn around, he wraps a stick branch around your chest. And you know how brothers do. They pound on your chest and pound on your face and all that good stuff. That was our relationship growing up. Fighting. I turned 14, they tell me your brother's going to the Marine Corps, he's going to be gone for 4 years. In a normal relationship, if they tell you your brother's going to be gone for 4 years, you'd be sad. You'd be afraid. You'd be ashamed to see him go. 4 years is a long time. So they tell me your brother's going to be gone for 4 years. I said, oh crap, that's not very long. I better get ready. He's coming back. And I got involved in martial arts when I was 14 years old. My dad was a good man, very quiet man. He didn't know the tools that he needed to give me as a son. So I grew up trying to get his attention. So I was really good in school, really good in sports, really good at everything I did. Martial arts was my next thing, so I wanted to be the best at that too. Moved up pretty quick, learned a whole bunch of cool different arts, which is not real important. My brother's gone for 4 years. When he comes back, we see each other about 4 or 5 times. And now I'm bigger than him, taller than him. So the first 4 times that I saw him, we had payback time. I got him back every time that I seen him. And I tell you that because it's kind of coming important. I graduated from school. I started going to college. I've got some good jobs. Couldn't wait to get out of the house because my household became very strict. There wasn't going to be drinking and smoking, and you weren't partying. You weren't going to stay the night at nobody else's house. If you want somebody to stay the night, they come to your house. When I got out of the house, I couldn't wait to take off and do everything that I thought I had missed out on. And I started from 18 to 21. That's as far as I made it. As soon as I turned 21, right before I turned 21, I started hanging out with some people that I knew I shouldn't be around. I didn't know the extent, I didn't know everything that they did, but I knew that these weren't the people that I should be hanging around with. But I hung around with them anyway, because it made me feel good about myself, they made me feel wanted, they made me feel like I belonged to something. So I started hanging out with these guys. And then they started coming to talk to me like, hey, why don't you come work with us? I was like, what do y'all do? They're like, all you got to do is ride around with us for a couple hours a day, and our boss will pay you $500. Sounds like a sweet gig, but I'm no dummy. I know y'all ain't just riding around getting paid $500, but they never would tell me quite what they did. The only thing I ever learned over time that they were doing was they were selling drugs, selling weed mostly. Selling drugs, getting paid for just riding around making sure nothing happened. But obviously there's way more than that. I turned them down several times. So many details we could go into, but I'm going to stick to the main points. So there was this one night where I decided to throw this big party. My house and another person's house became the party houses. Every weekend you're either at my house or another friend's house. So we planned this huge party. We had a friend that was 18, lived in a really strict household, never got to do anything. Back then, it seemed like just the right thing to do. It seemed like a really smart idea. We were going to throw a party in her honor, and she was going to get to drink and smoke and dance and cut, whatever she wanted to do. And I was going to be such a gentleman, I was not going to drink that night so she could have all the fun that she wanted. I can't tell you how stupid that sounds to me today, but back then it seemed like a really good thing to do. I was really being a good friend. I was not going to drink so she could have fun. It made sense back then. Doesn't make any sense today.
Yeah.
We're having a party for this girl who was innocent and has never done anything to just let her do everything that's going to take her down the wrong road.
Yeah.
And to this day, this girl's on meth. We opened all the doors that night to a girl who had never experienced anything. And we thought we were being good friends. We're going to show you a good time. You can drink, you can dance, do whatever you want to. And to this day, how many years is that? Over 15 years. She's been on meth because of that one night.
One night.
I'm still praying to meet her again. I got a word for her.
Yeah.
And I got some apologizing to do. We're having a party in her honor. 2 of my friends are at the house. Another martial arts buddy of mine shows up with this guy that is the boss of all this organization. They show up and they ask, hey, can we party with you guys? We brought some alcohol. It's like, yeah, alcohol's the ticket in. Come on in. I want to say something real quick. I don't know why this just came to me. The last several weeks I've had people come to me telling me the same thing. You know, the word tells you to test the spirits, right? Because there's people that can prophesy over you, and people that can speak life to you and speak words over you. And there's people that think that they have the gift of prophecy, can speak something over you. And it never did come from God. Why do you think God had to throw a little verse in there about testing the spirits? Everybody's not a prophet. Everybody can't prophesy. There's many gifts in the body. There's many gifts in the body of Christ. But the word says that he dispenses those as he wills, when he wants to who he wants to, for the reasons that he wants to.
That's right.
Is everybody going to operate in that gift?
No.
What would be the point? If we all prophesied, why do I need you? If we all preached, brother.
Yeah.
If we all sang
Yeah.
beautifully, what's the point?
Yeah. Right.
How's the head going to tell the hand that it's not necessary?
Right.
But when you stub your toe, the whole body feels it.
Yeah.
When the preacher don't show up, the whole body feels it.
Come on.
You understand what I'm saying? You need all the gifts, but everybody's not going to operate in all the gifts.
Right.
Why am I saying this? Because 4 times I've been told in the last couple of weeks before I even knew that I was going to get to speak tonight.
Yeah.
And they were talking to me about my testimony. And they told me that I needed to quit giving so much credit to Satan. You shouldn't talk about the bad stuff. You should just start where Jesus took over. And that sounds like a good word.
Yeah.
But the Bible tells me in Revelations that they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb
Word.
and the word of their testimony, loving not their life unto the death. What's crazy to me about that verse is how come I didn't say anything about the Word of God? Because the Word of God has the power unto salvation. My thoughts on that is one day you're not going to have the privilege of having that Word of God in your hand. One day that thing's going to be illegal to have. One day they're going to take those up and they're going to burn them. And the only Word of God that you're going to have is what you've been spending time putting away in your heart.
Yeah.
Thy word have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against you.
Amen.
Yeah.
So say it happened tomorrow. How much word is in you tonight?
Well,
If tomorrow they were illegal, tomorrow they got burned, and somebody came to you and they needed a word from God or they were going to take their life, do you have anything to offer them?
Come on.
Do you have anything to offer them? Do you have any truth in you? Do you have any word of life and hope in you?
come on.
The sister, one of the pools, she stood up here and she said, Revelations 12:12. I'll never forget it. When she said it, it hit me like a... she said, Satan's not after your life. He's after your hope.
Yeah.
He don't care about your life if he can take your hope.
Right.
If he can take your hope, he'd gladly let you live without hope because you have nothing to offer anybody else.
Yeah.
They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the power of their testimony, the word of their testimony, loving not their lives unto the death.
Right.
4 times they've told me, start where Jesus started, brother. Sounds like a good word,
Yeah.
but what does it matter where Jesus started if he didn't save me from anything?
Right.
Why do you need Jesus if he didn't save you from anything?
Right.
I don't need him. If we just start right there with Jesus, what was the point? He needed to save me from something, and he did.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share the whole thing.
Amen. Amen.
Test the spirits. Everybody's got a word from you. They may have a word, but that doesn't mean it came from God.
That's right. Amen.
That's right.
These guys show up and say, we have alcohol, can we get in? Yes, sir, that's the ticket, come on in here. And I'm not giving Satan any glory. Matter of fact, it's a slap in the face.
Right.
Where he tried to keep me, it didn't stay there. And we'll get to that part. So they come on in and I said, I need to talk to these two guys in the back, if that's okay. Yes, you can use the back bedroom. So they go in there for a while, they're gone for a while. One of my very best friends comes up to me and he goes, hey, we're going to go to the park and we're going to talk about 2 jobs. If you're interested, you're in. If you're not interested, we'll never ask you again. I don't want to go. We're here to party. I'm not going to leave my own party. We can talk about jobs some other time. He leaves and goes and tells those boys. Him and my other friend that I went to high school with, they both come to me. Now my friend from high school says, hey, we're going to go to the park and we're going to talk about these 2 jobs. If you're interested, you're in. If you're not interested, we'll never ask you again. No, I'm not leaving my house. They go back and tell him I'm not going. All 4 of them come back out and they're like, Jason, come on, we're going to go to the park. We're going to tell you about 2 jobs. We'll be gone 15 minutes, be right back, and we'll party all night. 2 jobs. If you're interested, you're in. If you're not interested, they want me in there because of my martial arts background. I don't know it yet. I think they're asking me because we're friends and it's going to be easy money. But they had their motives. Worst decision I ever made. Altered the rest of my life. Never mind, I take that back. One of the best decisions I ever made. Because if it wasn't for the results of this stupid decision, I wouldn't have a story to tell tonight.
Amen.
Out of pure frustration, I said, fine, let's go. We'll go to the park, we'll talk about these 2 jobs, and we'll come right back. We load up in a truck. We drive. They tell us we're going to go to the park. The park's only a couple miles from my house. We're driving. We pass the park. As soon as we pass the park, I asked my buddy that we're riding in the back. He's like, hey, why did we pass the park? So he knocks on the window and says, hey, why did we pass the park? He goes, don't worry about y'all. Y'all sit down and shut up. Y'all know when we get there. We drive a little bit further. We're in Ben Wheeler now. This all started in Myrtle Springs. Then we end up in Ben Wheeler. I'm from close to that area, and we're headed down all these back roads. I don't even know where we're at now because it's dark. We're talking 10 o'clock at night. All these roads, we don't even know where we're at. I don't know where we're at. We pull up to this pasture, and we pull in, and I can see when the headlights hit the pasture, I can see a barn over here, a barn facing this way, a small fence line that opened up to pasture and a bunch of woods, and there's a creek that runs right through it. So we pull up pretty much to the creek, and then we go to get out. My buddy, one of my best friends, gets out first, and then as I'm getting out, I hear my buddy say, hey, what is that for? So when I turn around, the boss man, if that's what you want to call him, is pulling out a shotgun. And he goes, man, this is just for protection. One of these guys got attacked by a hog out there the year before. So he said, this is for protection in case there's any hogs out here. Everybody let their guard down. It was weird, but it's not as weird as what you might be thinking because you know it's fixing to get bad. But in that night, you know all these people. Yeah. It's weird. It's awkward, but it's not, you're not thinking what's fixing to happen. So we get out, and it went down just like they said. He put us in 2 groups, me and my martial arts buddy to one side, and the other 2 guys to the other side, and he told us about 2 jobs. And he said, there's a guy in Edgewood that owes him a bunch of money. They want him beat up. The money taken, it pays $2,000. If you're interested, just let him know. And then he carries on. He says, there's a man in Athens that owes him a whole lot of money. He messed him over. He don't want the money. He said, I've got a gun and an address, and I want him dead. Now it's getting a little bit more serious, a little bit more real. I'm 21 years old. And we're sitting in a pasture talking about killing somebody. Never been in trouble a day in my life before this. No real trouble. And before I can ever even think about how weird this is, my best friend that I thought I knew says, give me the gun and give me the address. I'll do it. A guy that's been at my house almost every day, stays the night with me, partying on the weekends. One of the funniest guys I've ever met in my life. One of the closest people to me at that point in my life. And I've never seen that side of him. And he was quick. Give me the gun and the address. I'll do it. You think you know them. Yeah. You think you know people. You don't know people.
No.
You don't know people. You don't know what they're capable of. As soon as they said that he'll do it, he asked the guy beside him, will you go with him? He said, yes. He goes, I need to talk to you in private. So he takes him way off. We can't even hear him. It's pitch black. You can't even hear him. Now I'm sitting here with my martial arts buddy like, are y'all serious, man? Y'all for real? He's like, yeah, this is what we do. And so then he starts having casual conversation like we hadn't just talked about killing somebody. So all those 3 guys, they come back up, act like nothing was ever said, and they said, all right, let's go back to the house and let's party. Like nothing was ever talked about. We get all the way back up to the truck, and then everything starts changing. The guy with the gun Gets a little serious in his voice and he says, hey, I just bought this brand new gun today. I don't want to leave until we shoot it. He starts off pretty soft. And everybody says, it's too dark out here. It's pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of your face. Are you crazy? Let's just go home. Then he starts getting mad. We're not leaving here tonight until we shoot this gun. And there's lots of cuss words and all that stuff going on. That's not necessary. You get the point? It's dark. You can't see. Let's go home. I just got this gun. We're not leaving until we shoot this gun. The same buddy of mine that had spoke up about getting the gun and the address and killing this guy, spoke up and he goes, okay, well, we'll walk in front of you through the woods, and if we see something, we'll get out of the way and let you shoot it. I mean, it's just getting dumber and dumber at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But this is how it's going down. These guys are really that. When you don't have Jesus, man, there's no such thing as common sense.
That's right.
That's right.
This was getting crazy fast. We'll walk in front of you. If we see something, we'll get out of the way and you can shoot it. And then everything starts rolling fast that night. They take off walking. The guy's got the gun behind them in the middle, and they're about to reach that gate. And I'm with my martial arts buddy, and he's like, let's just stay back and we'll walk behind them. We don't even make it a couple of steps. And then I hear that guy with the gun say, hey, do you guys see any hogs? And you know when somebody speaks, you look up. When he said, you guys see any hogs? I looked up. And when I looked up, I saw the first flashes coming out of the gun. Boom, boom, boom. And the guy I went to high school with falls forward. Boom, boom, boom. My best friend starts to fall forward. Now this is happening a little bit faster than this. It's basically, hey guys, do you see any hogs? Boom, 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 boom. I'm not thinking about a shotgun. I've been raised around them all my life. I know they can only hold 5 shells unless you take the plug out, then they can hold 6. None of that crossed my mind. All I know is he shot 3 times this way, 3 times this way, and I'm to the left. And when he shot that second bullet, I was already spinning to take off because I'm next to the left. I'm not thinking about how many shells I'm thinking, oh, and I take off running for dear life. I hear somebody running behind me, and I can tell it's my martial arts buddy because he had a white, remember back when they had wind pants, the wind suits? He has one of those, so I can barely see that, and I think he's running with me. I hit that creek bed, and I was right back out of it. When I'm coming out of it, I got tackled from behind. So when I turn over, I think he ran into me. When I turn over, he's got his hand down to help me up. One of my best friends, martial arts buddy, helps me up, and as soon as I get back to my feet, he big chests me. And pushes me up against the truck. When I come off that truck, old guy with the gun had already made it back up to where I was at, and he stuck that gun right up against my lips. I'm not going to say what he said, but the gist of it was, where do you think you're going? The gun's still hot from him shooting 2 of my friends. He's got a 20 gauge up against my lips. Where do you think you're going? Been in martial arts since I was 14. I know how to take a weapon away from somebody about 8 different ways. I know all the pressure points. I know how to break bones. I know how to kill somebody with a couple of good hits in the right places. And the only thing I could think in that second was I fixing to die? Been in martial arts since I was 14, 7 years, training every week. And there wasn't a martial arts thought that went through my mind. I'm fixing to die.
Yeah. Come on.
My martial arts buddy takes the barrel of the gun, gets it off my face, and he's like, man, calm down. You just scared him. You just scared him. No. He wants to run. He can stay here with them too. So now they're arguing about if I'm going to live or die. So they argue back and forth, and for the sake of time, the guy with the gun finally says, okay, here's what we'll do. If he wants to leave with us, then he can go back and he can finish them off. Because neither one of them were dead yet. You could hear both of them screaming. If he wants to leave with us, he can go back and he can finish them off. If he don't want to finish them off, then he can stay here with them. So at that point, I guess I'm in the stage of what you call shock. I can't even think at this point. They take the gun and they try to give it to me, but I'm so out of there, they just lay it across my arms like this. I'm holding a shotgun like this. And the guy that started out with the gun comes up and he starts reloading it, looking me right in the eyes. Reloads that gun. He tells my martial arts buddy, my friend, to walk behind me. He's had a pistol on him the whole night. They make sure they show it to me, and he tells him to walk behind me and go out there and make sure I finish him off. And if I don't finish him off, he's supposed to shoot me in the back. One of my best friends, my martial arts buddy, my party buddy. If he don't finish him off, you shoot him in the back. And I can't even take a step. That martial arts buddy's got to grab my arm and take off walking because this other guy's getting so mad he wants to shoot me right there. Another thing that Satan will use to beat me up from time to time is in that moment, now that it's all over with, you see all these things you could have done.
Yeah.
You could have took that gun, turned around, shot both of those, been the hero. Never crossed my mind. Survival, getting through that night living, was the only thing I could think of. Am I going to live through this thing? Am I going to do what they say and they're going to kill me anyway? You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know these people.
Yeah.
And we started walking back, and I kept looking back, and I seen that guy that started this whole thing. He stayed at the truck. So whenever he got out of earshot, I asked my best friend, my martial arts buddy, my party buddy, I said, "Are you freaking kidding me, man?" And he looked at me just as plain as he could and just as cold as he could. And he goes, "This is what we do. This is how I make my money. Do what he says, or I got to do what he said." One of my best friends is telling me, "We're going to go do this, or I'm fixing to kill you." Best friend.
Yeah.
Teenagers. Best friend is talking about if I don't do what he tells me to, that he's fixing to kill me. Best friend.
Uh-huh.
We start walking back. I don't know what happened to the first one, but I can hear one of my best friends that got shot second. I can hear him bouncing off one of those barns. He thinks he got shot on accident. He's walking right back up on us. "Help! Jason, help me!"
Blessed Lord.
"Jason, help me. Help me, I got shot. Jason, help me." He says it 3 or 4 times. And he's within range. He's right up on me. He kind of scares me. He's right up on me. And then my best friend from behind me screams, "Do it!" And I raised the gun and I shot twice. Boom, boom. When I shot that second time, it was the first time that reality started coming on in. And I can remember being washed over with disgust. Like, what the heck just happened? You just did it, but it's like disbelief, like what just happened? And I turned around and I took that gun and I threw it at my martial arts buddy. "I don't care what y'all do now. Do whatever it is you want to do. I don't even care. Shoot me." And he took that gun and he reloaded it from his pockets, which means he had those shells on him the whole night. He took those bullets from his pockets and he reloaded. And he had to reload 3 more times. He shot this guy 18 times. And every time he shot him, he asked him, let me tell you about your best friend, because these guys were best friends too. And every time he pulls the trigger, he tells him, "How does that feel? How do you like that?" I don't know what was going on. Obviously, there's some personal beef between them. I don't know what's going on with them. But you can't tell me that wasn't personal. Best friend is standing over you, shooting you 18 times, and after every shell, he's asking, "How's that feel?" Screaming at him. Shoot him 18 times. He finally dies. We go back looking for the first guy that got shot. We can't find him. Now the whole plan's falling apart. They don't know what they're going to do, and I'm going to run through this for the sake of time. But they start debating again if they're going to kill me or not, leave me there in the pasture. They're worried about where this other guy is. The guy who shot him is like, "He's dead, he's dead. I shot him in the back of the head 3 times. I know he's dead. Let's get out of here." We go to leave. This is how old the story is. This all happened in 2001, right when I turned 21. We still had pagers back then. They realized we're in the truck. His pager's gone. Well, they were running after me. They dropped their pager. So we get out to find the pager. We can't find it. So now everybody's freaking out. So long story short, they come up with a plan. They want to go to Walmart, get some flashlights, get some party supplies. If something happens, we get pulled over, whatever, but we're gonna tell them we don't know what happened to these two guys. We were in town getting party supplies to go back. If we don't get pulled over, they're going back with the flashlights looking for bodies. We go to Walmart, we're there. It's not like it is now. There's no security, none of that type of stuff. I'm hoping to see somebody I know. Before we go in there, they tell me if I talk to anybody that they're gonna shoot me and shoot them. So don't talk to anybody, don't say a word. We go in there, it's late at night, there's one cashier, and I went to high school with her. We're in there, we're getting all of our stuff. We go to cash out, and she says, Jason, you okay? Are you okay? Jason, have you been? I ain't seen you in a long time. Jason, you're white as a ghost. Jason, you look sick. Are you okay? And in my head, I'm like, please shut up. Please just shut your mouth. You look sick, you're white as a ghost. I said, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. So then we rush through there, that freaks them out. So we get in there, we leave. Then they want to go to the park where everybody knows it so they can see our faces. And we'd have an alibi saying we were in town. We go to the park, and it's two of my best friends that I grew up with that are at that park. And so I told them, I said, I know those people. Go up there to them. They know who I am. Let's go up there to them. They'll see us and they'll know who I am. And I guess the way that I waved them over scared them. Because once I started waving them over, because one of them's a big guy, and he's known me a long time, and he would know by the look on my face, and he'd start yanking people out of this truck. The way I waved them over scared them, so they'd leave. So they changed the whole plan. By this time, I'm thinking real clear, and I start getting a plan. How am I gonna get away from these guys? So I tell them, hey, I got a buddy back at the party. Let's go back to the party, because if we go back in this truck, they're gonna recognize this truck. We'll get this truck. Y'all two go and get rid of this truck. We'll follow y'all, and then we'll all get back in my truck and go. And what I'm gonna do is get my buddy in my truck, and we're gonna get out of there. They go for the plan. I sell it to them. I convince them that's what we're gonna do. We get back to the party. We go in there. We pull my buddy aside that we're gonna try to pull along. We go to the back, and they tell them everything that we just did. So my buddy's looking at me, and I'm just trying to shake my head like, please, let's go with me. Help me get out of this mess. So that's what we're gonna do. We go to leave the house. The plan's fixing to go great. We leave the house, and more people had came to the party, and they blocked in my truck. So the guy's like, we're not gonna do that. One of you's gonna ride with me. One of you's gonna ride with a martial arts buddy's truck. We're gonna go and get rid of the truck. So we're driving over there. We get rid of the truck. They get rid of the gun, the shotgun that they had used. We all pile back into this martial arts buddy's truck, and we head right back out there to Ben Wheeler. We get out there, and it's lit up like the 4th of July. Ambulances and helicopters and police officers everywhere. We're in a different truck now. And obviously, everybody's scared, so they turn around, and we're going to get back on 64 and head back to Myrtle Springs, and whatever the plan is after that, get out of Dodge. We passed so many cops, and nobody even tried to slow us down and look at us. We get back on 64, and it's going to be a straight shot home. We're going to be home free, and we're going to get out of here. As soon as we turn on there, there's an off-duty cop going to a Tyler hospital to visit a friend. Our windows rolled down. The driver doesn't have a shirt on. He changed clothes at my house. I forgot to tell you all that. And he doesn't have a seatbelt on. This guy's going to Officer Purtle from Van Zandt County Jail. He's going to Tyler to go see an he's going to Tyler to see a friend in the hospital. And he sees us, and just out of concern for us, he turns around, turns the lights on, pulls us over, comes up and is asking us questions because he's concerned about us. It's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning now. We got the window down, he's got no shirt on and no seatbelt on. Asks us some questions and tells us, hey, you know what? If everything checks out good on your driver's license, we'll let you go. And we think we're home free because all this just happened. There hadn't been enough time for everybody to find out what's going on. They said a couple of our names, and that APB came back over that intercom system that he had and said all of our full names were wanted. Capital murder and attempted capital murder. And Officer Purtle pulled his gun and told us to all get out of the truck, one at a time, put your hands on the bed of the truck. And right then was my first thought of prison. I'm fixing to go to prison for the rest of my life. Doesn't matter what the truth is, doesn't matter. I'm going to prison for the rest of my life at 21 years old. Long story short, they take us to jail. The guy who started this whole mess told them that I was the mastermind. I knew him for 2 weeks before this happened. And he told him that I was the mastermind of this, and I've been planning it for the last 6 months. The very first night we're there, that's the story that he tells them. I do 31 months in the county jail fighting this case. I'm going to speed through this because there's so much to tell you, but it's not really important. But just to tell you how friends are, because we're talking to kids and teenagers. It doesn't matter, adults too. Another friend, the guy who was going to get involved at the end, who didn't have to be involved, who really didn't have anything to do with this. Thankfully, it all happened before he could get in trouble, but he was on probation for something else. They go to him and they tell him that they would let him off that probation and any other charges that he had if he would just sign a statement saying that I was walking around the house 2 weeks before this ever happened, talking about killing these 2 boys. And he did it.
Mm.
One of my best friends. You know why he's in my house? Because I went to a party one night and he was so drunk he couldn't drive. So I took him to his house. When I took him to his house, he didn't have any running water and no electricity. So I put him back in my truck and brought him to my house. And the next day when he sobered up, I said, you stay here till you get on your feet. And I got him a vehicle and I got him a job. Good friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I can get out of my trouble?
Mm-hmm.
Best friend. Yeah, he was talking about killing these two dudes 2 weeks before it ever happened. One of my best friends.
Yeah.
Long story short, man, God was showing up and I didn't even know it. He's been using all this from the whole time I didn't even know it. They start talking to me about going to church from the county jails. Like, I've been born and raised in church, and you see where they got me. It didn't do anything for me. What am I going to go to church for? You can't tell me no stories I don't know. You can't tell me no songs I don't know. I don't know it all. I've heard it all. I can preach it. I'd say that as a joke then. I wasn't a preacher. And they taught me into going to church. So I go to church. I'm sitting in the church. This redheaded preacher from Fruitvale shows up. He's preaching, screaming, spitting on everybody, sweating all over the place. This brother right over here. And in the middle of a sermon, I mean, he's preaching. Y'all know how he gets wired up. He's going. He's spit slinging, all that stuff. He's going at it. And he stops just long enough to touch me on the shoulder. Of all the people in that gym, put his hand on my shoulder and he said, God save this one before he gets out of prison. I'm sitting there thinking I'm never coming home from prison. They're either going to give me the death penalty or I'm fixing to do life in prison. And a stranger is preaching his guts out and says, God save this one before he comes home from prison. And he kept on preaching. Didn't see him again. I do my 31 months. God showed up in a mighty, mighty, mighty way. The guy who turned in that first statement finally recanted his statement, but I was still there when it happened. So they give me a 12-year sentence for manslaughter is what they give me. I go to prison. I'm bitter. I'm angry. I got so much guilt and shame for what I did. I shot one of my very best friends. I've never been in trouble in my life. I put my parents through the ringer for 31 months. They got to see me on the newspaper every week, see me on the news for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Their kid who's never been in trouble now, he's wanted for murder and capital murder. I mean, I'm just Satan. Satan's wearing me out.
Right.
Guilt and shame and disappointment, man. Oh my gosh, beating myself up. So in prison, you don't deal with emotions. You just turn it all into anger. Do you deal with emotions in prison, Chili? Nah, you just turn it. Everybody's as hard as they can be, right? Everybody's a fighter. Everybody's a tough guy. Everybody's a killer. You just turn it all into anger. You get your mask on, and then you're angry the whole time that you do your time down there. And it's all just this mask that I want you to stay away from me. Let me do my time and go home. So I wasted 5 years in my incarceration just being mad and angry. And I get with the wrong crowd in prison. I mean, how stupid can you be?
Yeah.
I'm in prison behind my friends, and now in prison running with dummies. What's worse than that? I started speaking for those dummies. I'm calling the shots. And then this little old skinny wiry kid shows up one day. And part of the prison culture is if you're in a bad dorm, I need to know if you're going to fight or not, because if a racial riot or something like that pops off, I need to know if you got my back. And if you won't fight for yourself, I know you don't have my back, so we need to find out right away. So if you're not going to fight, you can't live here, because you're just going to be in the way. So I go up there and I approach him. I was like, hey, are you going to get down with us? Or are you going to leave? And this dude tells me something I had never heard in 5 years, and he says, hey, I ride with Jesus.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
I'm not afraid of you, and I'm not going to ride with your homeboys. And if y'all just want to fight, we can fight. But I still just ride with Jesus. I've never heard that in 5 years. The plan was, I say, are you going to get down or catch out? And you say, I'm going to get down, or you say, no, I'm not a fighter, I'm trying to go home, and you leave. That was the script for 5 years. And then some skinny kid shows up this big, and he weighs 85 pounds, and he says, I'll ride with Jesus. We can fight if you want to, but I still ain't going to ride with you. It messed me up so bad I had to go sit down in the day room and think about it. I don't know the script for that. What's the answer to that? It's A or B, dude. He threw C on me so fast I couldn't see straight. He's like, hold on, there's not a manual for this. I'll be right back. So I go sit down, and I'm thinking, what do you respond to that? This clown is saying I ride with Jesus, but we can still fight, and I still don't want to run with you. That wasn't one of the options.
Yeah.
So I sit down, and here come all the homeboys. So what's up with those boys? You going to get down? I was like, no. He ain't going to get down, but he'll fight. And he ain't leaving. You're like, oh, it ain't going to go down like that. Let's go in there and bang him up, homeboy, and make him leave. And I'm telling you what, man, I didn't know it then, but I know now God took over my mouth. Because before I could even think it, it came out of my mouth. If y'all touch that kid, you better fight me first. And you know how that goes over in prison. Oh, you're trying to be his man? No, there's just something about this kid. We're going to leave him alone.
Yeah.
We're going to leave him alone. It's coming out of my mouth before I can even think.
Praise God.
And this sucker was on me every day. Every day. Bringing the Bible to me. Hey, read this verse. I'm not going to read the Bible in the day room where everybody can see me. And I give him the spiel. I've been in church my whole life. You can't tell me no verses. I know the verses. I can quote the verses. I know the song. It didn't work for me. Where was God at in that pasture that night? Answer me that and I'll read your scripture. Next day. Hey, read this devotional then. You want to read the script? Read this devotional. Tell me what you think about it. So after enough of that, you finally read one just to get the dude to shut up. So I read the devotional, and it's right on time. It's busting me right in the eyes. You want to cry, but you're in the day room in prison. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Next day, hey, read this. Next day, hey, read this. Next thing you know, I just do it every day so we can get it over with. So I read it, and I'm reading the Bible. Then my homeboys are in the back saying, let me find out. Let me find out you're going to be one of them Christians. Let me find out you're fit to go to church. If you're scared, go to church. They're all screaming all kinds of stuff. So I'm holding the Bible, cussing them out. Then I would read it and get convicted. Give it back. So then this dude starts upping his game. Why don't you come to church with me one time? Yeah. I ain't going to church. I've been in church my whole life. It didn't work. I ain't going to church. Church is for guys that are scared. And prison church is for people that just want to hide behind church until they go home. They're scary. I'm not a scary type of dude. That ain't no fun. To me, Christians were sissies in prison. I ain't trying to hear it. Come one time. I'll never ask you again. If I go one time, you'll never ask me again. Yeah. Just one time. I said, okay, I'll go one time.
Thank you, Jesus.
Jerk. Went to church thinking nobody knows me. Nobody knows what I've been through. Nobody knows my walk. Nobody's going through all this stuff I'm going through in here and in here. I'm going to go through and I'm going to sit through this church service. Well, he takes me to this deal called prayer and share, and you sit in this circle, and all these guys share their little girly feelings until they go around the room, and then they go home. So I sit in the chair. He introduces me. I said, I ain't going to say nothing. I'm not talking. So he introduced him. This is my friend Cole, man. He's a good dude, and he's good people, and man, God's all over him. He just don't know it yet. And I'm just like, lie? Dude, lie. So I'm sitting to his right. So they start with him, and he tells me what a blessing I am to him, and he loves my friendship, and I'm like, this clown here. So then they go around the room, all these strangers, and by the time they went one at a time, every one of those guys had shared a little piece of my story. Didn't even know it. Boy, by the time it got to me, I'm a hot mess. I'm talking about snotting, crying, falling apart, full on girl action, man. I'm out of there. And God's all over me like crazy. So they tell me to fill in for this thing called Kairos, which is a 4-day prison ministry, where free world volunteers just come in and love on the inmates for 4 days and talk to them about Jesus for 4 days for no reason, just to do it. And I was in there for Thursday night, Friday night. I went Saturday, and Saturday night I broke, man. God jumped on me like crazy because they started talking about disappointment and guilt and shame. And I learned this little old verse that's in Psalms 139, verses 14 through 16. You know where it starts off, you're fearfully and you're wonderfully made? Well, then 16, it ends like this. Every day of your life was recorded from the foundations of the world before you lived out one day.
Hallelujah.
And God gives me this revelation that quick. If God knew everything I was ever going to do before I did it, murder case included, and he creates me anyway, how can you logically disappoint somebody who knows everything you're going to do?
Yeah.
I'm dealing with being a disappointment.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was dealing with somebody that knew everything I was going to do.
Yeah.
He knew about the murder case. He knew about the pasture that night, and he creates me anyway because to him I was worth it. You can't disappoint God. And it broke something up off of me, and I got saved that night. And a year later, he called me to preach in prison. I'm doing Bible studies because I'm kind of shy now that I'm a Christian. And all these guys are like, we like the way you teach. Why don't you get up there in church and preach? And I was like, I ain't preaching. I ain't called to preach. I'm not doing that. And I knew, because my grandma used to pray over me all the time, make this one a preacher. I knew it was coming, but I was fighting. Make this one, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and she's rubbing my back while I'm sleeping. I'd wake up to hear, God, make this one a preacher. And here we are all these years later in prison. And my homeboys are telling me, man, get up there and teach, man. I like the way you teach. I can understand it. I'm like, I'm going to do it one time. And when it flops, don't you ever ask me again.
Come on.
And I put in for that deal because we had a chaplain that was all about, if you thought you had a gift, he was all about trying to encourage you to do it. So I said, I'm going to do it one time. And I got there one time and the Holy Ghost jumped on me like doggone it, man. I ain't never been jumped on like that in my life. I'm talking about I thought I had electricity flying through my bones, man. When I woke up that morning, I thought if I didn't preach, I'd explode.
Yeah.
You ever had that feeling, Brother Homer?
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't wait till they called my name because I thought if I don't preach, God's going to kill me. My heart can't beat any faster than this. So I got up there and I preached my guts out for about 10 minutes and God told me to shut up. And that place turned into a pepper rally. And all these gang members and all this craziness started happening. Everybody's getting saved and it was just, the Holy Ghost took over and I'm just up there crying. Oh my gosh, how could you use me? How could you use me?
Amen.
Long story short, we did a whole bunch of cool stuff. We started one of the first faith-based dorms in prison. God gave 3 inmates a vision of a faith-based dorm. God gave us a Christian warden for 1 year, just long enough to get it started. Doesn't matter who comes in after him. They can be a Satan worshiper for all I care. They can't stop it because Huntsville approved it.
Yeah.
That place was called Terrible Torres when I landed on that unit because of all the riots and all the craziness and deaths that was on it. Now that place is called God's Boot Camp. You can look it up online and it says God's Boot Camp
Hallelujah.
on the Torres unit prison. I did 11 years in prison. 11 years. I ain't saying that to make you feel sorry for myself. I was ready to get out earlier, but God wasn't done with me yet in that place. I didn't know it yet. And as I'm walking out the doors, the very last thing that I heard, there's so much to tell you. I'm just going to wrap it up because it's time for the sister to come back up here. Man, I've already got the point out, but as I'm walking out the door, you know what the last words were to me from a guard to me? We'll save your bed for you. I laughed. Didn't hurt my feelings at all. And I said, you'll see me again, but I'll be in free world clothes.
Praise God.
I'm going to come in and I'm going to bring them hope. And I made up my mind the day that I was getting out of prison that I'd be back. I didn't know how. I knew that if I got out and I stayed out of trouble a year and a half, I could go back into any prison except for the one that I was locked up on. And last September was about 4 years that I'd been home. And I get a call saying that the warden of my unit had approved for me to go back into my prison. And I'll speak through this real quick because this is something, the only guy I've ever seen go back to his prison had to do 10 years out in the free world before he could go back. They're very strict about going somewhere you were locked up at because you still know some of those guys. So we'll run through this real quick. I go back in September. I preach my guts out at a service. The warden shows up and he says, that might be one of the best sermons I've ever heard in my life. How often do you want to come in here? He said, I'll put you on the master list. You can come in here any day you want to, 7 days a week. He said, if we're not having a church service, we'll start one when you get here. They need to hear what you have to say. So then I tell him, Warden, look, it's like this. Every unit's got a good side and a bad side. On the good side, they get all these privileges. They get church, they get rec, they get all this cool stuff. On the bad side, nobody's going after them. They're locked up 23 hours a day. 23 hours a day. Did they do stuff to get back there? Yeah. Yeah. Some of them are never coming home. What else are they going to do? It's fun to act up when you're never coming home and you don't have any hope anyway. So they're locked up 23 hours a day. That's the answer. For that 1 hour they're out, they can shower, get a little bit of sunshine, and eat back in their cell. For a minimum, once you go back there, you're there for a year. And you're in a culture of other guys that are back there too. And if you mess up, they just add another 6 months. Some people have done 10 years back there, 20 years back there with 1 hour out of freedom a day. And I said, what's crazy, Warden, is nobody goes after these guys on the bad side. And what's crazier than that is these guys are your most influential guys on the unit. All your gang members are back there, your gang leaders are back there, the guys that speak for those gangs are back there. That 1 hour a day that they get out, they're shooting messages to the other side of the unit to do whatever they want to do, and it happens. I said, if we went after these guys, they would change your whole unit for you. He said, I like the way you think. What do we need to do? I said, let's do a test run, because these guys are only allowed to travel 10 guys at a time because the potential for a riot and a war and a death is very high. They go to chow 10 at a time, they come back, the next 10 go. And you got to go through several hundred guys like that. Can you imagine having to be the guard that does that? It'd be torture. 10 at a time, you got hundreds of guys to go feed.
Yeah.
So I said, let's set up a service. I want 4 hours with them. I said, I'm going to preach. We're going to do some drama, do some comedy. We're going to do some praise and worship, lots of praise and worship. And we're just going to give it to them, both barrels. He's like, how many inmates do you want to be there? And I said, I want all of them that are willing to come. Every one of them. He goes, how many guards you want? I said, you got 600, 700, 800 guys that are locked up back there. I said, you only keep 40 guards on staff. If you gave me all 40, what are y'all going to do if 800 guys want to jump on me?
Yeah.
You can't save me if you want to, so give me one. To do count time and then get out of the way. And let God do the rest.
Praise God.
So we go down there in December. They turn out. We have several hundred guys that come out. And I made a deal with those guys. Hey, for the next 4 hours, let's pretend we're not in prison. Let's pretend we're in the free world at a men's conference. Hey, you know because you're in prison that your son has an 80% chance of coming to prison just because you're sitting here by example? What if in the next 4 hours I'll give you something that'll change the rest of your life? What if in the next 4 hours I'll give you something that'll change your kid's life? I'll give you the tools to go home and change your son's life so I don't have to preach to him in 10 years. How about that? Who's down with that? And of course they all raise their hands because they all care about their kids. No matter how bad an actor they are, they care about their kids. And we gave it to them for 4 solid hours. We preached our guts out. When we did that altar call, Brother Homer, we had about 12 guys that didn't come forward.
Wow.
We were surrounded by men. I had a team of about 25 of us that was in there. We were surrounded by guys praying, wanting to get saved, wanting to get out of gangs. So then I talked to the warden again. He said, what do you want to do? I said, I can show up every 6 months and we can have a pepper rally, or we can really go after these guys. I'll give you the first weekend of every month. I'll come down on Saturday and I'll do a discipleship program with these guys. Give me 10 guys from the faith-based dorm. I'll mentor them one-on-one. Give those guys 2 guys apiece out of these troubled guys to mentor. We'll start flipping the culture in there. So not only does it go for that, but on the first Saturday of the month, I go down there from 8 to 10 and I do a discipleship class with the rough guys. Then from the next hour, I have a meeting with 5 guys that are leaders on that unit, inmates that are leaders of the church on that place because they're serious about church and prison. From 12 to 3, we do a 3-hour service with these guys that are locked up 23 hours a day. And it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. From 3 to 5, we do another discipleship class with 20 mentors and 40 guys out of the good side of the unit. And in July, when we go down there, we got a whole dorm now that we're going to get to do a leadership class with.
Thank you, Jesus.
I stay the night there. On Sundays, I keep looking at Leroy. She's my sister from the church we go to. Her and her husband and a couple other ones are going down there. They go down there with us now. We're building a team of people that are going after these guys. We stay the night. We go back Sunday and we do two services. And the last 2 times we've went, they keep increasing the amount of guys that they'll let in there. Let me tell you how much God is moving, and I'll wrap this thing up. We're talking about a prison that was terrible Torres. Now it's called God's Boot Camp. Do you know that free world people like everybody in this room raised $2 million to build a chapel on that unit so no inmate would ever get turned away?
Wow.
That's how much God is moving on that unit. People in churches that come together, jewelry stores have come together, $500,000 donations to build a $2 million chapel on a prison. That's how much God is moving down there.
Wow.
We've been going down there since January. We've been going down there the first weekend of every month. And we've had, I don't even know, over 600 guys that have gotten saved and gotten baptized, gotten out of gangs. The last 4 weeks, we've had over 100 that have gotten saved. And one of my favorite stories to share is the last one. Let me tell you how powerful God is. There's this guy named Brandon that we love to death down there. When I went down there in January, I looked at him. He was sitting in the back with 2 of his homeboys, and I could tell by his tattoos that he was a satanic worshiper. He had it tattooed all over him. And God told me right then that me and him were going to talk. I didn't know how. 2 guys are talking to him through the whole service. Normally I'll show up and I'm like, hey, I didn't drive 6 hours to listen to you talk. I have no problem confronting those guys. God wouldn't let me do that to him, I guess because it would offend him. So I just kept preaching the sermon. I went right up to both of them and stood about this far away and I preached my sermon. They don't talk while you're right in front of them. The next week I showed up, the guy's trying to talk in his ear, and he's like, hey, be quiet, I'm trying to listen. The 3rd time we showed up, he came up front and goes, will you pray with my parents? Will you pray for my parents? And he said, I wrote a paper about what you preached on last time, I want to show it to you. And so I said, hey, let me tell you something, you know we're supposed to talk, right? He goes, what do you mean? I said, you know. I said, you know. You may not already say you don't know God, but you can't deny what's been going on.
Yeah.
When I lock eyes with you, I know me and you were supposed to sit down. I said, I know you know. You've been running from me. I said, look, my discipleship class is very strict. If you ain't saved, you better be really, 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 really trying to seek God or you can't get in. I said, I know you hate God. I said, but you're fixing to go home. If I put you in this discipleship class, can I have an hour with you? He said, yeah, I'd like that. So I talked to him in May for an hour. Didn't get anything awesome out of it. I just let him share his heart. Met with him in June. He told me all the dirt that he was fixing to do when he got out. He had $1,000 cash in prison from hustling. Gave it to his homeboy that was fixing to go home. His homeboy squandered off all the money. So he's telling me how, man, I was going to take that 1,000 and flip it to 3,000. Now when I see him, I'm going to kill him. I said, man, when you run into that dude, you ought to hug his neck and kiss him on the neck. He said, for what? I said, because that $1,000 might have just been an investment that saved you 30 years fed time. Because in your head, you take that 1,000, you're going to flip it to 3. What if you sold to an undercover cop?
Yeah.
He might have just saved you 30 years fed time. So you go find him, or kiss him on the neck, and tell him thank you.
Yeah.
He said, man, I never even thought about it like that. I said, you should. We end that meeting, we start the next service. The next day, we do the 2 services. When we do the altar call, guess who comes up there? Brandon. Comes walking up there. Brandon is a white supremacist that speaks for a white racist gang. He's a Luciferian, which is a satanic worshiper, and he speaks for those guys. You're talking about massive influence and potential.
Yeah.
This dude has a lot of influence on that unit. And this dude gets up and he turns around and he tells me that he wants to get saved. And when they get saved in prison, I don't give them a chance to just, okay, let's say the sinner's prayer and you go back to your cell and you keep it to yourself where you can be conformed. Yeah. I give them the microphone, tell them.
That's good.
You get saved in prison, I'm going to make you tell them. What blesses me about guys in prison, when they walk that aisle, they know that at the very least they're fixing to get beat up bad for leaving a gang. You don't just leave a gang in prison. You get beat up, you get stabbed, you get stomped. They know it walking the aisle, Brother Homer.
Yeah.
When you do the altar call, they're not just walking down there crying because they're so happy about Jesus. They are.
Yeah.
It means something to them because they know they're fixing to pay a cost. Not everybody had to pay a cost for accepting Christ.
Right.
These men pay it. When they're walking that aisle, they already know they're fixing to get beat up bad. And they still walk the aisle. And they still take the microphone and they turn around and they share their story. I'm done with the gang. I'm done with the racism. And that white dude shared his story, broke down crying. We're all crying, talking about how he's been running from God his whole life. And man, just nothing's ever going to be the same. And then he turns around and he hugs a black dude. And he turns around and he hugs a Mexican dude. That quick, Brother Homer. Racism's gone. Hate's gone. All that's gone. This dude went from a satanic worshiper to worshiping God this quick. And if that's not enough, the first minutes of his salvation, the guy right underneath him, the next Luciferian satanic worshiper underneath him, comes to the front. I'm done too.
Praise God.
The first minute of his salvation. This sister here got saved on Thursday night. I don't know her, still don't know her name. I've hugged her twice, I don't even know her name. It just blessed me because I'm sitting behind them. I see her come to the front, and I see Mama break down. It touches me.
Yeah.
Really touches me because I know Mama's probably been praying forever. I know God did something to my sister the other night, made her come up here. But she don't even know it. In the first minute of her salvation, she blessed my socks off, man, because that's the real deal. That's the real deal. Nobody begged her to come up here. God was doing something. She couldn't wait to get down here. That's the real deal. I'm so tired of fake church and fake Christianity and fake this. Your fakeness ain't helping nobody in the free world.
Amen.
What's crazy is this church was never meant for lost people. It was meant for Christians to come and get tools, and they leave with tools, and they go out to the world, and they lead them to Jesus Christ.
Hallelujah.
Church is for Christians. It's not even for the lost, but I'm glad that lost people come because they find Jesus. But it's not set up to be that way. It ain't set up for the preacher to do all the work. It's set up for the preacher to give tools to his congregation, and you take those tools out the door, and you go to the world and to the prisons and to the bridges and to the homeless and the schools and everywhere you can get your foot in, and you take those tools and you lead them to Jesus. That's what the design of church is. Your fakeness is not going to help anybody. That's why people don't like Christians, because they can't see anything different about us except for what's coming out of our mouth about I go to church every week. That's great, and nothing has changed about you. So why would I want to go to church when I can live just like you do in my living room and not miss one single game? God is a good God. He's the same, and He won't ever change. Thank y'all, brother.
Wonderful.